Good evening, everybody. I apologize for the technical difficulties that we had. I'm calling this meeting to order. Today is Tuesday, August 11th. Happy birthday, Kendall. And the time is 5 o'clock. We have present in the Nat U Hill rooms, Councilors Henry, Iverson, Decker, Wiltz, and Feidel. I'm not seeing Councilmember Hawk, but I do believe that she's joining us virtually, so everything we do will have a roll call vote this evening as well. So let us jump into it. Again, our apologies for the delay. All those able to stand, please stand for the reciting of the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Thank you very much for that. Next up is the adoption of agenda, and it looks like we have some amendments to make for tonight's agenda.
Madam President and Council, I have 3 items. The first is, the Council, we have a request from the Commissioner's Office to pull item 8I, a request for deappropriation, and item 8J, a request for a fund-to-fund transfer. I move to table indefinitely the Commissioner's items 8I and 8J.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second to table those items for the Commissioners indefinitely. Any questions or comments from council on that item? Okay, seeing none, we're going to do this by voice vote since we don't have Councilor Hawk yet. So all those in favor of amending the agenda, pulling those items indefinitely, signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries.
Council, I further move to table item K, 8K, a resolution on target fund balances to our August 25th meeting.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second on that table. Any questions or comments from council on that item? Seeing none, all those in favor of tabling that item to our August 25th meeting, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries.
And lastly, Council, I move item 8H, joint item between the Commissioners and Aviation, to item 7A.
Second.
All right, we got a motion and a second on that. I think there is some emergency that Mr. Laverty has to handle, so we want to bump that up and get him taken care of so he can handle that accordingly. Any comments on this item? Seeing none, all those in favor of moving that item up on the agenda signify by saying aye. 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 All those opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries. Thank you very much for that. Next up is our item number 4, which is public comment. So if you are here in the Nat U Hill room, you can come to the lectern here, state your name for the record, and you'll have up to 3 minutes. And these are for items that are not on tonight's agenda. So again, if you're a member of the public and wish to speak to items not on tonight's agenda, you can come forward to the lectern, sign in. You'll have up to 3 minutes. Those attending virtually via Teams, you can do the same thing, except you can just raise your hand via Teams. So are there any takers for public comment tonight? Looks like we have somebody walking up.
My name is Gerhard Glom. I reside in Bloomington on Carey Murray Lane. 65,765. That is the number of people, as I Googled it today, that are currently held in ICE detention. 65,765. Various independent agencies have verified that roughly 70% of those detainees have no criminal record. Every day in this country, injustices occur hour after hour after hour, state by state by state. The powers that be cause suffering for tens of thousands of people and their families. On August 28 at 8:50 p.m., there will be a vigil right outside this building on the southeast corner of the square. A peaceful, reverent vigil for the detainees in the Miami Correctional Facility. I would like to extend an invitation to each one of you, the staff, the good folks in the audience, and the good folks that are watching online. Is it appropriate for me to approach you and
Absolutely. Thank you.
You're all invited to attend. Perhaps you can take the flyer home to your other important work, shared with your friends, family, and neighbors. So perhaps we can all do a part that this country will be a country where we are all better human beings, where we do not inflict needless suffering on innocent people. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. I like your shirt. All right.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else here in the Nat Uho room that would like to speak to items not on tonight's agenda? Call, and then anybody virtually that would like to speak to items not on tonight's agenda? Okay, seeing none, we appreciate you, sir, for coming up and making a public comment and inviting us to this event in a few weeks. Thank you. All right, next up, we will move on to item 5, which are department updates, and these are for items that are also not on tonight's agenda. I know there are a couple of people, and right now it looks like we have Chris Hardesty that is here. So if you'd like to come up, and each department head that would like to give an update for items not on the agenda, you have up to 10 minutes. So take it away. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for having us, and thank you for the ongoing support throughout many years. I just wanted to pop back in again this year and let you know how much we appreciate that. Life Designs, DSI, has been a part of this community for a long time, and want to continue to do what we've been doing, and it's the support you guys give us that allow us to do that. So we just want to be here to say thank you. Kind of give you some updates. You've got some information in the packet there. We are looking at starting a day program here in town and having our folks something for them to do during the day. We've had folks since I got involved here in Bloomington 6 years ago that have been on wait lists to attend other programs and still can't get into those services. So it's finally time that we're going to do something about that, and we're going to start the services there in our building and have that available for them. And then hopefully by the end of this calendar year, we'll be able to open that to the public. And other folks that I know are in the community that are on wait lists and have been for 4 or 5 years are looking for those services. And so that's something we're going to be able to start providing to not only the folks we currently serve, but other folks in the community that need those services. We're really focusing on reaching young people and being targeted with technology and how we can utilize that. We have 11 other programs across the state that DSI operates, which gives us a lot of very talented folks. We have music directors and art directors and folks that are in our other programs. We'll be able to work with them through technology and bring that here to our folks. And so looking forward to that. It's very exciting. We're looking at some simulators and some training simulators and being able to do some things for vocational skills. possibly even partnering with local universities to work on certificates where our folks would be able to gain a certificate for employment somewhere, whether that be as a forklift operator or some sort of a skill that we can teach in a safe, controlled virtual environment. So really some new, exciting things that we're trying to do and move forward with to serve not only the folks we're currently serving, but really wanting to expand that and serve lots of folks in the community. And again, it's your guys' support that allows us to do that, and we just want to say thank you. I forgot to introduce Eddie. He's our guy here in town that helps us run things and helps stay on top of things. And the last couple of years, bringing him along so that somebody else knows what's happening and knows what you guys do for us, and just is here to as well say thank you.
Appreciate you guys. I mean, on behalf of our clients and staff, we really appreciate the help that we get on a yearly basis. Said on behalf of our clients and staff, we really do appreciate the help that we get. It means wonders to our clients. I mean, especially when we institute these programs, and this new day program is going to be wonders for us. So thank you guys again.
You guys have any questions for us?
Well, let's see. Does anybody have any questions or comments? Yes, Councilor Wiltz.
I've been recently looking at vocational training in that sphere around Parks and Recreation, so I would love to connect with you all some other time. Just
Absolutely.
to talk about ideas.
That would be great. Yeah, reach out to me and we'll get together for sure. So, yeah, that'd be fantastic. We're trying to figure out how that fits, where that fits, exactly what that looks like. So any input for that would be very much appreciated.
Councilor Iverson.
One of the reasons why I think funding from these public bodies is so important is we don't necessarily know what's going to happen at the state level. And so I'm going to ask a big question, and if you want to answer it later or here, feel free to. But we've been reading a lot about some of the changes happening in Indiana Medicaid, and I don't know, is that having pretty profound impacts with your clientele, or I don't know if you could talk a little bit about that, or again, if you want to delve into that later, we can do that too.
Yeah, without going into a lot of detail, yes, it absolutely is having an impact on our folks. There are major changes happening. We're still figuring out exactly what those all are and how that's going to affect us, but yeah, it's definitely kind of an uncertain time. So that's where, like you said, this type of funding that isn't reliant on that is huge.
Great.
So,
okay. Well,
and I apologize, that's kind of a non-answer, but I don't want to go into a lot of details, but yeah, it is definitely affecting things.
thank you.
As always, thank you for coming back. It's wonderful to see familiar faces. But also, I want to compliment you on the certificate approach and that you're exploring that in my other hat in higher education and out working with, organizations that are where folks are choosing not to pursue higher education. Certificates are kind of a hot thing right now, and I love the parity and notion that folks are getting it across the community, period, where they need it, what they need, et cetera. So thank you so much.
Appreciate that. Yeah, we're just starting to delve into it, just starting to figure it out, but it's definitely a direction we're looking at. So,
Councilor Frido.
I wonder if you could, I tried to see it in your report here, but it may not be obvious. What is it that we fund you to the tune of so that we and the public know what that is?
I do not know offhand what the percentage is.
I have that information in front of me actually. For DSI for 2027, it's actually the same as 26. It's $474,238.
Thank you so much.
And Auditor, this is in the Commissioner's budget, right? That's right.
Sorry, they have the mental health and
Right.
the developmental disabilities.
And again, if anybody is wondering why, you all come back every year during this time of the year to give us an update. I think it was Councilor Wiltz that had asked for this a couple of years back during our budget hearing, so we can just know and have an update and just have a better understanding of where the funding is going and how we can be of service. So right before our budget season kicks off, this is something that we look forward to. Is there anything that, my question would be, is there anything that is on the horizon that we should be concerned about with respect, maybe that's what you were also getting at too, but with respect to funding that you might possibly need where you're not getting?
Things at a state level are definitely not getting any easier. Every day seems to bring a new challenge, and so having this support as it is fantastic, and just hoping that it continues and hoping to continue this relationship, and the support from you guys is extremely helpful.
Well, we appreciate that. Thank you so much. Any other further questions or comments for DSI? No? Well, we appreciate you coming.
All right, thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. You guys have a great evening. We'll
You
see you
too.
next year, if not before
Yes.
then. Thank you.
Thank you.
DSI funding.
All right. Are there any other departments that would wish to make a departmental update? Looks like we have the surveyor.
There couldn't have been a more perfect storm with the technical issues and the fact I was planning on presenting where it has a lot of visuals. I could come back at another date, but I don't really think there is time, so I'm trying to be as concise as possible. I was pushing up to my 10 minutes maximum already, so well, here we go. And I think it'll be enjoyable. I think it'll be taking small sips from a water hose, and I'm hoping that it would be okay if I at least turn this one to the council, since I'm gonna,
Oh, we got this one.
are you
Yeah,
We're all right.
Oh, okay,
we can see it.
all right. So this is actually just a slide I used for a presentation, but it goes into the history of the surveyor's office, and I'll get to the point kind of at the closing of this presentation of why I'm presenting today. This is how we used to manage our data. This is a database in sense, which is like a print off with handwriting next to it. This is when I came to the office in 2005. This is how you used to access the data. You come up to the health department, you pull out these physical copies, and then you would be able to get data that's relevant to section corner in the public land surveying system. These are old monument records of the public land surveying system, which is the framework of property rights. The first one was, I think, in 83, no signature, no reference surveys, no theory of location. Then in 95, no surveys reference, no theories of location. And then in 2013, no theory of location, but we did establish a surveyor review board. So I do think we're increasing the standards. In 2006, I developed this entire web page to put our records online and upload individual records one at a time, making them accessible to the profession, which I think was really important for decision making. Now, this is kind of using GIS to streamline day-to-day operations. We stitched together a topographical map and then overlaid our section corner data information. Fun fact. The surveyor's office provided this to Jason Aiken when he was the assistant plan director when the planning department was still in the courthouse, and they promptly started using this information for planning purposes. So it's supposed to show that we've always been using technology, but GIS wasn't a household name back then. Aerials, the state did a flyover. It shows how we streamline day-to-day operations and field work. We were able to use this to get out there, be more efficient with our time and more precise with finding where these locations exist. Fun photo, I'm gonna skip through it, but that's us working out there with the best equipment available at the time for our budget. This is creating an access database to help streamline operations. Basically, I created a model which ran through an arc map, and then over there on your right is what it produced. So we were really streamlining these tie sheet records. Collaboration between offices, Parks and Recs, Voter Reg, Health Department. Back then, GIS wasn't really like a computer interface. It was what it produced. It was that physical map that you hung on the wall back then. Fast forward with over a decade of service to 2016. This is when I took the leadership role, and this was our current org chart. This is going to forecast some of what my conclusion will be. But the elected surveyor was set at 75% of other elected officials. A professional surveyor was hired as chief deputy, but that salary was also set at 75% of the elected surveyors, which means we got a ridiculous deal for the first 6 months of their service. In 2017, the professional surveyor position was created and appropriately earning more than the elected surveyor. We finally started paying them for what expertise that they provide to the county. To gain support to help offset the financial impact, the professional surveyor position was split, 75 coming out of county general and 25 out of the section corner fund. Note, this is not just a leadership change. This is a shift in the standards upheld by the Office of the Monroe County Surveyor. Here's a product. We're able to create this in-house. This is the boundary perpetuation surveyor. We're understanding more of the totality of what's going on the ground to set these monuments, preserve these monuments, maintain these monuments. That, again, is the foundation of public rights, or property rights across the county. Here's our tie sheets. I'm still always excited to show off the one on the far right with the 3 seals, a licensed surveyor, the elected surveyor, and the surveyor review board, which means once a month I have the opportunity to get 5 licensed surveyors to agree on one location. That's fun. Here's a corner record index and a map depicting our progress. Just wanted to do that. This is like staying on top of new technology and methods. It's not going stagnant. It's making sure that we're implementing best practices and moving forward. And so we started to improve what this is called a field database, which allows us to create accessibility to this information or access. Issues like topology, I'm going to skip through this, but this is something I'm proud of because I built it out in-house, or where we need it, see how the point doesn't align with the lines. All of those databases to your far left, and some offices actually pay services to integrate topology, have to move all at once. Here's a fun, quick video. I try to trim it down real quick. So basically, all of those separate data sets, one's expanded to show you all the multiple layers and fields in there, move simultaneously so we can improve that data, keep that geometry, and make sure that these boundaries are all overlaid. We created databases and developed workflows to streamline operations. We improved internal operations and expand accessibility of information. Only if you were there for the 8 hours of naming convention discussions to make sure that we had a fundamental way of naming these documents, but expanding them as more information came in and make them available and accessible. Here's a fun video. I think this is really important. This kind of forecasts some of why I'm here. I am here all day. So we're searching by that one location. All of these surveys, almost about 7,000 in the database now, pinpoint that one location. We create reports where the profession can gain this information online. Collaboration between offices and providing technical assistance and enhancing internal standards. This is something we deployed with planning, and one thing I like to point out is the red thing is no monuments set at corners. Imagine if you guys had a survey done and the surveyor didn't set the monument at your corners. These were little things falling through the cracks over time. So we deployed this initiative with planning department, and we still work with them today. More collaboration between offices providing technical assistance and generating cost savings. These are trail projects. One's kind of making its way to Ellettsville, and the other is still in the works. This is another showcase of it. What I like about on the one on the left, that's the limestone greenway. The little house with the kind of light blue line going through it, that's the police substation. We literally showed up on the property, did surveying work, discussed what needed to be done with the property owners, and negotiated this deal with assistance of legal and parks. And the other is a township trustee trying to figure out some issues with the cemetery. Here's another example. This is legal in a property that went to the tax sale. We were able to go through this and eliminate that parcel because it didn't actually exist. Here are all the other professional organizations that we work with that we've collaborated with over the years, and also council has been generous enough to appropriate funds that allow not just my office, but a number of different county departments to work with these groups. All right, we're getting pretty close. 2019, 2020. The elected surveyors, still 75% of other elected officials. In 2019, the GIS coordinator was restructured and appropriately earning more than the elected surveyor. In 2020, the survey technician was created. To gain the support and offset the financial impact, that position was split too, 50% coming out of county general and 50% out of the second corner fund. Here is, in the same year, the GIS coordinator was relocated. Monroe County launched its first internal public-facing GIS web application featuring the survey utility. There is a video. Basically, you can get thousands of documents on here, and you can make judgment calls and determinations in the field as a crew is out there looking and trying to locate a monument that might have been buried that might actually be the corner of your property, but they can now get on here and find all this information to make that determination on the field instead of setting a new corner. We received excellence in GIS because we're now using the technology more to its fullest, which means we are maximizing the investment that's already been made. 2021, we worked with elections and did the whole re-precincting and re-review, and actually the coordinator at that time, he was the technical staff to the re-precincting committee. And after finalizing the re-precincting committee, we created maps that depict the changes and provided them to elections and attached them with the Indiana Election Commission Form 8, which is like the official process. Current, that's where we're at. So here kind of summarizes everything. In 2006, there was a WIS study. The WIS study report talks about total cost to phase in all elective officials to the external midpoint at this dollar amount 20 years ago, all elected officials. Here's the 2021. The study reported salary information for several Indiana counties. However, it failed to note whether the position were full-time, part-time, or had outside employment. These are very important considerations. We reached out to each county in the report and provided this during the 2021 budget hearing. In addition, the study had incorrect salary amounts for my position and also Bartholomew's. This is a fun fact. The average salary between the, if you average them all out in that chart, between the assessor, auditor, clerk, recorder, and treasurer, compared to the average salary with quotations with no outside employment. So again, I have these documentation, so I had another column. The difference was only 0.15%. Currently, it's at 90%, so still significantly not at equal pay. Here we go. I'll go real quick. 21, I came here, asked for equal pay, didn't get support at that meeting. Ultimately, that year, council did adjust the salary 90%, but then all the other positions got a significant raise. 2021, I did not come to ask for equal pay because I was having trouble with getting a licensed surveyor to the county, so I prioritized that. I also didn't believe that I could get both requests and thought it was too ambitious. In 2023, I did come back. I did not get the support. I faded that one in. I have requested equal pay in 2026, and discussion with Jennifer Crosley and my liaison, we wanted to make sure we brought this to council, not during the budget hearings, because we've been asked not to do that. And quickly, you know, I sit on multiple boards that are really intergrined with the development of the county. I'm not going to verbatim. Made it a priority to have higher standards, do the perpetuation work per state mandate, stay on top of technology, continue to create databases. Also, the GIS division is within the surveyor's office, and we have created public applications. And we also have been incorporating other data into a GIS where we have provided that data to our constituents, colleagues, elected officials, and created valuable tools for policy decisions in general outreach. Here is current to date. 83.1% of all the corners under my tenure are survey grade. Fun fact, the Indiana Geographic Information Officer has started the conversation again about getting section corner data for their GIS initiative. That office is in the Office of Technology. By receiving section corner data from Indiana counties, we can improve county boundary data sets and other governmental boundary units, political subdivisions, taxing districts, and also support Next Gen 911. If you're not familiar with that, that is what first responders rely on. Since the restructuring of the GIS in 2019, we received 4 excellence awards, 1 special award, and a certified platinum certificate for our data harvest work. Just a fun photo of showing the resources. Again, this is not just a leadership change, it is a shift in the standards upheld by the Office of the Monroe County Surveyor. And I appreciate giving you, or you giving me time and me being able to give you a recap of what the Surveyor's Office has done over the last 20 years. So thank you, and I will be back later at item F.
Thank you. Does anybody have, just Councilor Fido?
So I would like to know if the things that you demonstrated here for us tonight are available online for the public to access through your website.
The first part, sorry.
So the things that you demonstrated to us, like maybe some of the charts or some of the graphics or is most of the information that you shared with us this evening available on the website?
Oh yeah, almost every single thing except that dashboard. I'm working to deploy that where it showed the 83%, but you can kind of get that without the indicator. So I would say majority of it.
So the public has access?
Yes,
Thank you.
absolutely.
Thank
And
you.
anything that the public saw or anyone else wants to see, I can send you a copy, and every single thing there has immense amount of information supporting it, so,
Appreciate it, thanks.
yeah.
Councilmember Henry.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Tron, for coming in. I wanted to say, as you had mentioned, I am your liaison for the council to your office, and I encourage you to bring this forward to us again to have a public hearing outside of the budget process. I think it's been a long road to have 5 years of needing to make a salary adjustment for one of our departmental electeds to make that office whole, and I think it's worth looking into regardless of our season of taxation. Tron puts in a full 40, which I think is important to say when we look at elected officials statewide, where we could have, I think, if I remember, Councilor Deckard last week made a reference to Lake County. I think we were talking about offices where people get elected, maybe don't show up. Tron's not one of those people. One of the things I've learned about working with the liaison role here is, and we're going to hear this, I think, with other department heads that come to us, is these are revenue generating offices in our county. One thing I remember you told me about how you work with other county surveyors near us to figure out where Monroe County ends and maybe Morgan County begins, because those offices are revenue for our county. When we think about property tax value of where's that parcel? Is it here or over on the border? And those are some very rugged areas of our county that you're out there measuring, but that's revenue that's generated for our county when we think about who gets to tax that parcel and whether or not it's ours, and you find those. But did you want to talk a little bit about that? I just want to share that's my support of this our consideration, but maybe just briefly talk about how you're literally finding parcels out there.
Well, not exactly. Well,
that big, right? But
we're finding the boundaries.
Yeah.
But one thing I think is really important, and I've actually said at our last affiliate meeting with other surveyors that aren't prioritizing the perpetuation effort, is the DLGF brought in the IGO to start looking at how they're going to calculate this potential new lit. And they're going to start using like address points and things of that nature. And so our dealings, kind of to your point, is making sure we're accounting for annexations with the town, or making sure that all these parcels are within those jurisdictions and all these GIS points are managed and we have confidence behind it, so those dollars start going to it. And then to your point, there has been certain areas where what we have defined is not necessarily the actual legal acreage. And so as we start to go down that path, our parcel data will improve. So like, again, that could shift with the way that the assessor uses that data. But it's really it's really important in my opinion that like where this continues to go, it's supported regardless of, you know, whoever the leadership is. But like, again, you know, I was showing a few slides, and I'm sorry, I'm derailing it just a little bit, where those were previous employees, because we've had some turnover, you know, and they have, actually, I'm excited, I'll mention it later, that one of our part-times taking a career path and has gotten a job, and I've had already a couple of coordinators that have taken other career opportunities outside of the state, and we have to bring people back in to continue to meet these standards. And but to your point, this will really help improve all of that data that is utilized. Like if there's a parcel, for instance, we were looking at parcel IDs, property classifications, and we noticed a few weren't accurate, and we worked with multiple departments to correct that. And so it's kind of the flip. They were actually supposed to be in the city versus in the county, and we took the appropriate steps to identify that and took them to the appropriate parties to make sure. But if that is flipped, that's just important, because if there's some properties that have that classification that's incorrect, then, you know, this is the data for us to find those anomalies.
And thank you for that. Yeah, there's real science going on here, and I appreciate you walking us through it. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Thank you for bringing this to our attention and definitely making a case. I know you and I talked about that, so this is definitely something to think about before our most wonderful time of the year.
Well, I'll be really excited to time how long my presentation went and see if I hit that 10 minutes initially at least.
You went over, but that's okay. It's okay. We talked about it. You're good. We'll see you in a little bit. All right. Is there any other departments that are virtual or in person that would like to make a departmental update for items not on tonight's agenda? Okay. Seeing none, we will move on to item number 6, which is the consent agenda items.
Council, I move to approve the following consent agenda items for August the 11th. A, the Highway Department's request in Fund 1169-0000, local road and street, for a category transfer of $20,000 from the supplies category to the capital category. B, the Aviation Department's request in Fund 1107-0000, aviation, to create account line 40120, tools and equipment, and simultaneously approve a category transfer of $95,000 from the services category to the capital category. And C, the council office's request in Fund 1000-0061, County General Counsel, to create account line 30013, professional services.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Are there any questions or comments on the consent agenda items presented? Seeing none. And we don't take public comment on consent agenda items, so all those in favor of approving the consent agenda items as presented signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries. Now we will move to our amended part of the agenda.
Council, as a reminder, this was item 8H. Council, I move to approve the Board of Commissioners' request in Fund 1186-0000, rainy day, for an appropriation of $440,416.62 in the capital category.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. And Mr. Laverty, are you still with us virtually?
Yes, TSD, could you promote Carlos Laverty as well as Brent Thompson? Thank you.
All right, you can go ahead with with your items, Mr. Laverty?
Can't hear you. We can't hear you.
No, we still can't hear you.
So we can see that he's talking. So the system is getting him. It's our problem. Does that make sense?
His mic is unmuted, but
Yeah.
we're not getting anything.
Well, it's coming through Teams because
we
we
can
can
see
see
the-
the transcript.
Closed caption.
Well, the
picking
little
it up.
button on the bottom is muted. Maybe that's it.
I just got a text that says they can hear him online.
Yeah, everybody but us.
We can't hear him in here.
Yeah.
I think it's the bottom of the screen, maybe. The mute. There's an X next to the speaker.
And next to his name, there's something with a hash mark on it, right?
So,
We can just read.
yeah. Or is Mr. Thompson able to speak on this as well?
Nope.
Nope,
We
can't hear
can't
him.
hear you either. Okay. Technology at its finest. I think, Ms. Gregory, are you able to speak to this? Because this seems to be pretty easygoing. Like, this is something that we've been working on since the tornado happened back in February. And judging from reading the packet, it seems as though that this is a reimbursement from insurance to go back into the rainy day fund.
Yes, I'm happy to help, and I think it is pretty simple if Mr. Laverty doesn't mind my assistance. Anyway, yes, we've been working very closely with the aviation team. We all work together on this rainy day policy where when we have emergency events, the rainy day fund can be tapped to bridge that gap between funding for a limited amount of time. And of course, you were very clearly made aware of just the deductible that would be coming out of rainy day permanently. So this is just to appropriate the funds from a third reimbursement check received from insurance, I believe, related to this disaster, and so they can put it to good use. So I'm happy to try to field any questions, but I think that's the gist of it.
Thank you. And we are getting thumbs up. That's the good finger there. Okay. Any questions or comments from council on this item?
Everybody.
All right. If there is public comment on this item, you can come forward to the lectern here in the room, or you can raise your hand, and hopefully we can hear you via Teams. And seeing none, may we please have a roll call vote?
Counselor Henry,
Yes.
Counselor Deckard,
Yes.
Counselor Crossley,
Yes.
Counselor Iverson,
Yes.
Counselor Feidel,
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimous.
Thank you, gentlemen, for showing your faces on screen. All right. Have a good night. All right. Next up, we are back into the regular scheduled programming of the agenda, and we are going with several items for the hiring freeze.
Council, this is item 7A. Council, I move to open for discussion and possible approval of the probation department's request to be exempt from the hiring freeze and be allowed to hire in Fund 9142-0000 Community Corrections Grants for part-time probation officer assistant positions.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. We are joined. Sorry. I should make my seat up or sit on some pillows. We are joined by Chief Probation Officer Linda Brady and Judge Dekoff. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. 2 weeks ago, I came before the county council to set up line items in our community corrections grant to pay for part-time probation officer assistants. And the council did create that line item for us to be able to pay them. Now I'm asking for permission to hire them tonight. We would like to hire up to 4 part-time probation officer assistants. And just to remind you, what I brought up 2 weeks ago is that the money that we're going to use to fund these positions would have otherwise had to be returned to the state, to the Department of Correction. So will also result in savings to County General of $37,000 and into some other user fee funds in public safety lit, special purpose lit as well by using the grant instead of those other budgets. So we're requesting to be able to fill up to 4 part-time probation officer assistants up to 56 hours a week to run our day reporting and drug testing program. And that's the request.
Thank you very much. I can see a little better now that I'm boosting my seat. All right. Any questions or comments from council on this item? No? Explained it well last time. So, all right. And now we'll move to public comment. If there's public comment, you can come forward to the lectern here in the room or raise your hand via Teams. And seeing none, may we please have a roll call vote?
Counselor Iverson?
Yes.
Counselor Fidel?
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz?
Yes.
Counselor Henry?
Yes.
Counselor Deckard?
Yes.
Counselor Crossley?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimous.
All right.
Thank you very
much. We appreciate it. Next up is item B from the Planning Department.
Council, I move to open for discussion and possible approval of the Plan Commission's request to be exempt from the hiring freeze and be allowed to hire and fund 1000-0079 County General Planning 1 full-time office manager position.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second, and we are here joined by Ms. Jellin, the director from Planning. Welcome.
Hi, thank
Hello.
you. So this is my 3rd time here in the last several months. I promise everyone in our department is generally happy with our office. We have an 8-person department, and we've conducted 3 exit interviews in the past 9 months, and every one of them mentions that the reason they're leaving is pay. So this is a request to fill our office manager position. Our prior employee was there for 10 years, which was great, and they're still staying with the county. But as we see a vacancy in our office, we realize how helpful this position is, fielding over 3,000 phone calls a year, several walk-ins. Even just the first week with this being vacant, we had 5 calls between 8 and 8:30 a.m. with several meetings scheduled for 9 a.m. So it was quite distracting, and we just would appreciate refilling this position. There has been some changes to this position, and I think we, in the WIS study that was mentioned, it was categorized across the board, and I noted, AI transcription of minutes has been helpful, being able to take online payments, but just since having taken a maternity leave recently and returning, and I appreciate the support in doing so, I just noticed how much extra outside effort there is to keep the office running. And so we would like to keep this position open at 40 hours. There's also been a state law change that happened starting January 1st. And so we are very busy taking in payments and processing permits separately from the building department, whereas that foot traffic used to start at the building department. And finally, we did increase our fees December 1st, 2025, and I reported earlier when we had a vacancy last month, but we've seen an increase by $24,169.20, just comparing the 2 fiscal half years. So we are requesting that this be refilled, and the fiscal impact, as you'll see, does show a savings of $10,380, and that's largely because of the base pay, moving back to base pay, but also the longevity is no longer a requirement if they are hired after 2023. So with that, I'll answer any questions that you might have, and also I'll note with the several vacancies that we've had, we've met with our executive committee of the Plan Commission, and I can come back at another time. Aside from the budget hearings, we do have a cover letter, and a document for you on some ideas for how we can better retain our qualified staff. So any ideas on when you'd like me to come back, I'd also appreciate that as well.
Thank you very much for that. Any questions or comments from Ms. Jellin on this item? I will go with Council Iverson, and I'll go to Council Member Henry next.
I'm going to pick up on the last point you made, that this is not the first time we've heard from departments where there are positions within a department that have analogous positions in other taxing units, and that creates a lot of competition. And so I think any ideas that you have about ways to help the county stay competitive is going to be incredibly helpful. We're very aware of this, and hopefully we'll be having conversations coming up, but it's something that we're wrestling with as well.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you for coming in. And I'll just reiterate the good comment that you made and what I said earlier about the surveyor's office. Is this is a revenue generating office in the county, and as we've gone through that fee structure change, it's a giver to the coffers, I guess, in terms of how I think about this department doing its work. Also, I think it's always worth sharing with my peers about the way that our plan commission meetings operate, and that these are hearings, right? They're not it's not like a person taking notes in the corner and kind of gisting the conversation. These are hearings that are treated at a very formal level to capture the exact words that are being said. These words can be used later in litigation in terms of the decisions that we're making as a plan commission, or when we have a petitioner, or the decisions of that department. So having that level of detail is important. The extra 5 hours go a long way to help that department function, and I would be supporting this effort. Thank you.
Other questions or comments? I would say, to answer your question of when could you come back, I think the next meeting that we have on the 25th for a department update, I think that would be an ideal time for you to do, such as what the surveyor did. So looking forward to having that discussion.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. All right, seeing no other further questions or comments on this item, we will go to public comment. If you have public comment on this item, you can come forward to the lectern here in the room, or raise your hand via Teams. A public commenter?
Just real briefly, Tron and Wright Randolph, Monroe County Surveyor, also Plan Commission member. Not only all the other administrative duties that were highlighted, and you might highlight it, so I'm going to expand on it, is the fact these are hearings, and to make sure that we have quorum to have these meetings is very important, and I know that's what the office manager has done, and this is moving along people's business in a timely manner. So it's really important to have somebody that can wrangle everyone together to make sure that we can hit a quorum and we can move the community's business forward.
Any other public comment on this item? Raise your hand via Teams, or you can come forward to the room. Seeing none, I thought I saw Councilmember Decker's hand.
I just had a quick question. Is there an issue? The meetings are a set time. Is there an issue getting appointees to get to the meetings at the dates that they've been for a long time?
Our Plan Commission has 9 members, and we need to have 5 in person. Sometimes people have conflicts and they want to join virtually, so then we're often trying to figure out if people can join virtually so that we still have the 5 people in person. So it is a little bit of wrangling without turning in my
I gotcha.
my bosses.
And that's put anybody in trouble on the spot. Are people pretty quick and cooperative with responding on that?
Yes.
Okay.
And it gets lost in the emails. We do have 5 meetings a month, so I do give people a lot of grace for receiving a lot of emails from us. So.
Thank you for not throwing me under the bus, Jackie. I appreciate it. But I am in state for those meetings.
For the record. All right. So seeing no other further questions or comments on this item, and we have already went to public comment, may we please have a roll call vote?
Counselor Feidel?
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz?
Yes.
Counselor Henry?
Yes.
Counselor Deckard? Counselor Crossley?
Yes.
Counselor Iverson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimous.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Next up is item C from the assessor's office.
Council, I move to open for discussion and possible approval of the assessor's request to be exempt from the hiring freeze and be allowed to hire in Fund 1000-0008, County General Assessor, one full-time real estate reassessment specialist position.
Second.
All right, we got a motion and a second. We are joined by the assessor, Ms. Judy Sharp. Welcome.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, I had an unexpected loss of a, she's still alive. That just didn't sound good. One of my deputies who was there for over 3 years, who had all, the level 1, level 2 certification and was really, doing a great job. She had a personal issue where she had to leave and take care of a relative. So she left me, and we hated to lose her, but I understand you have priorities. There's never a good time to lose people, but right now in my office, with everything that's going on and the appeals that we're inundated with right now, this position would replace her. And just like all of my positions, I need somebody in there that can hit the ground running, learn the job, get the level 1 and level 2. You have to do that. And I wrote all this down, what we need, but this job is just, you just really can't. Everybody in the office is cross-trained. So if I say they're doing this, they could start doing this over here as soon as they learned a little bit more. That's the only way we can run the office. It's too small of an office not to have everybody up to speed in doing all of the jobs. And that's what I would do with whoever came in. So I'm just respectfully asking you all if you can, I've never been here before for a hiring freeze, but maybe let us go ahead and hire, because right now we're the skeleton crew. And the appeals right now is taking myself and my 2 appeal deputies out of the loop. We're doing 2 to 3 days a week on appeals with the board. And tomorrow we go back in tomorrow, and tomorrow's Wednesday, right? Wednesday and Thursday. It's just a lot right now, and so I need some people. I need somebody in there to learn and get it going fast. So that's all I'm asking. If you would please consider this, I'd appreciate it.
Thank you very much for that. Any questions or comments from council on this item? Like you pled your case. All right. Now, if there's public comment, you can raise your hand via Teams, or you can come forward to the podium here in the room. And seeing none, may we please have a roll call vote?
Counselor Wiltz?
Yes.
Counselor Henry?
Yes.
Counselor Deckard? Counselor Crossley?
Yes.
Counselor Iverson?
Yes.
Counselor Fidel?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimous.
Thank you very, very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, next up is item D from courts.
Council, I move to open for discussion and possible approval of the court's request to be exempt from the hiring freeze and be allowed to hire in Fund 1000-0225 County General Courts 3 part-time law clerk positions.
Hey.
And we are joined again.
Hello again.
By Judge Dekoff and Ms. Chandler. Welcome.
Hi, thank you.
Hello.
So the courts are asking to hire 3 part-time paid law clerks. We currently have no paid law clerks at this time and are solely relying on 2 unpaid law student interns. So that we're asking for the 3 part-time paid law clerks to be hired for the fall semester to help the courts improve their capacity to conduct legal research, draft court documents, and provide consistent support for the court's daily operations.
And I would add that 2 of them have been here during the summer, so they have been working on legal issues and projects that are going to continue into the fall. So it's just much more, it's better if we can just continue on with them.
All right, thank you very much for that. Are there any questions or comments from council on the law clerks? Nope. Okay. If there's public comment, raise your hand via Teams, or you can come to the microphone here in the room. And seeing none, may we please have a roll call vote?
Counselor Wiltz?
Yes.
Counselor Henry?
Yes.
Counselor Deckard?
Yes.
Counselor Crossley?
Yes.
Counselor Iverson?
Yes.
Counselor Fidel?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you again. All right, next up is item 8, which is the county council business, and we will start with item A, which is the annual review. Because again, it's almost that wonderful time of the year. And so this fiscal body, which is all 7 of us, or 6 of us right now, must annually review the estimated property tax levy limits and estimated property tax caps, or also known as circuit breakers, that impact Monroe County non-binding entities. Do we have any questions from council related to the items we received?
Related to the items we received today, I haven't looked at them.
Well, everything was in the packet.
Yes.
I
Okay.
just kind of
All right.
consolidated
Right.
everything
Got it.
down.
Right.
So that it was easier to read, hopefully, so.
Yes.
Got it.
And seeing none, I'm going to look to the auditor to give her an update.
Yeah, I reviewed everything Michelle has provided and agree everything looks accurate and on point. So thank you.
Thank you very much for that. And seeing no other further questions or comments from council on our annual review, if there are no objections, I would like to direct the auditor, which is something that we are required to by state statute, to notify the non-binding taxing units that the council has reviewed the 2027 estimated tax levy limits and the property tax caps with no changes at this time. All right, so seeing no objections, so ordered. All right, thank you very much for that, staff. And next up, we will go back to the courts. Y'all are getting y'all steps in today.
Council, as a reminder, due to the lack of unanimous vote at the July 28th meeting, a second reading is required for this request. Council, I move to approve the court's request in Fund 1000-0225 County General Courts to amend the 2026 salary ordinance to create account line 14176, floating court reporter, 35 hours, Comet D, non-exempt, and to remove account line 14167, associate court reporter.
Second.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Is there anything that you would like to add to this that we didn't discuss 2 weeks ago?
No.
Okay, that's, you are on it. Okay, any questions since the past couple of weeks that anybody would have? Nope, okay. Now we'll move on to public comment. Please raise your hand via Teams or come to the microphone here in the room for this item. May we please have a roll call vote?
Counselor Deckard?
Yes.
Counselor Crossley?
Yes.
Counselor Iverson?
Yes.
Counselor Fidel?
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz?
Yes.
Counselor Henry?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimous.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, next up is item C from the prosecutor's office.
As a reminder, due to the lack of unanimous vote at the July 28th meeting, a second reading is required for this request. Council, I move to approve the prosecutor's request in Fund 1000-0009 County General Prosecutor at 67% and Fund 1000-0660 County General Child Support at 33% to amend the 2026 salary ordinance, account line 13029, Forensic Analyst and Technology Specialist, Pat B, non-exempt, from 35 hours to 40 hours with an effective date of August the 9th.
Second.
Okay. We are joined here by our prosecutor and Ms. Hamlin. Welcome.
Thank you. We presented this 2 weeks ago. This is a person who does forensic analysis of pieces of evidence such as cell phones, laptops, fitness trackers, other kinds of digital items. But he also makes sure that we have items that we need to present in court in a form that doesn't violate the rules of evidence. And then he also keeps even our desktops and laptops all working smoothly as an assist to tech services department. So if you have any further questions, I'm happy to answer them. I appreciate the support that was signaled 2 weeks ago, and I hope that you will go ahead and approve us again. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments for the prosecutor on this item? No? Okay. We will move to public comment. You can come to the lectern here in the room or raise your hand via Teams. And seeing none, may we please have a roll call vote?
Counselor Crossley?
Yes.
Counselor Iverson?
Yes.
Counselor Feidel?
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz?
Yes.
Counselor Henry?
Yes.
Counselor Decker?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimous.
Thank you. Still staying with the prosecutor's item or office is item D.
As a reminder, due to the lack of unanimous vote at our July 28th meeting, a second reading is required for this request. Council, I move to approve the prosecutor's request in Fund 1000-0009, County General Prosecutor, to amend the 2026 Salary Ordinance, account line 13033, Criminal Investigator, and account line 13034, Criminal Investigator, Civ Pol D, non-exempt, from 35 hours to 40 hours with an effective date of August the 9th.
Second.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Anything you'd like to add to this item?
Yep, just a reminder, these two folks are folks who help us get our warrant requests from law enforcement process. They do background checks on offenders. They also help us locate missing witnesses and victims, assist with transport to and from trial, those kinds of things. So again, appreciate your support 2 weeks ago. If you have questions, happy to answer them, but I'm hopeful that you will go ahead and let us increase them to 40 hours. Thank you.
All right, any questions or comments from council on this item? Seeing none here, we'll move to public comment. Raise your hand via Teams, or you can come forward here in the room. Can we please have a roll call vote?
Counselor Iverson?
Yes.
Counselor Feidel?
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz?
Yes.
Counselor Henry?
Yes.
Counselor Crossley?
Yes.
And Counselor Decker?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimous.
All right, thank you very much, and have a good night. All right, next up is item E from the Health Department.
Council, I move to approve the Health Department's request in Fund 8112-9626, STD Strengthening Prevention Grant, for additional appropriations of $46,518 in the personnel category and $1,800 in the services category, for a total appropriation of $48,318.
Second.
All right, we got a motion and a second, and we are joined by Ms. Lori Kelly virtually. Welcome.
Oh, we can't.
We're still,
I still think it's that bottom.
Yeah.
Speaker's off.
Oh,
I see.
yeah, down here we see that Councilor Decker has been saying this, the microphone is muted down here. The speaker is muted, because it looks like Ms. Kelly was speaking and the caption and is picking it up. We just can't hear it here in the room.
It's the bottom right of the screen.
So, okay, so, I'm gonna try to pick this one up since I did my due diligence and read the packet. And Ms.
If you'll-
Kelly or somebody.
Ma'am, if you'll give me a second, I'll reboot the microphone system and see if that'll bring the Zoom back in.
Okay. Stand by, folks.
Okay, we're back up. Lori, can you hear us?
And she's still talking and it's not picking up.
What if we somehow made it come out of here and into there?
She could have called on my phone and
Yeah.
played on the speaker.
Okay.
It's also just a grant.
So,
Sure, too.
do you want to try it?
Miss Kelly, if you wanted to call my cell phone number, I apologize, this sounds strange, and maybe we'll try to put it through my speaker off of my phone. My cell phone number, the entire county goes to their pin. 812-360-2110.
Oh, Elphaba's here.
All right. Chris?
I can hear you.
Okay. So what would you like to add to this item? Thank you.
This is just a standard grant amendment. So this funding supports our disease intervention specialists. This funding will last us about into the fall, and we are expecting an additional $110,000 to be arriving soon. That was initiated by the Indiana Department of Health July 1st. So this is just essentially helping to cover an additional gap as we work our way through the grant period.
All right. Thank you very much for that. Technology. Okay. Any questions or comments on this item for Miss Kelly? This is really fun. Okay. Seeing none, if there is public comment, you can come forward to the lectern here in the room or raise your hand via Teams. And seeing none, may we please have a roll call vote?
Counselor Wiltz?
Yes.
Counselor Henry?
Yes.
Counselor Deckard?
Yes.
Counselor Crossley?
Yes.
Counselor Iverson?
Yes.
And would Counselor Feidel like to vote on this?
I would. I'm up to date with it. Thank you. Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes unanimous.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, Ms. Kelly. Thank you, Counselor Deckard, for helping us with that. All right, next up is item F. We're back with the surveyors.
Council, I move to approve the surveyor's request in Fund 1202-0000 Surveyors Corner Perpetuation for category transfer of $4,300 from the services category to the personnel category.
Second.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Mr. Randolph, what would you like to add to this item?
Just a couple things. I just wanted to backtrack just a little bit. When you're up here, sometimes I don't know, I still get nervous. So when people said it was cold in here after that, I was like, I'm overheating. But to Councilmember Henry's point, I wouldn't consider our office a revenue generating, but more of a cost savings, where it's kind of a flip there, but we don't have permits like when you mentioned that to planning where they're actually generating revenue, but we do a lot. And that kind of goes into this request. So I just wanted to kind of make that one bit of a clarification. I do think we have a lot of return on our investments, and we generate a lot of cost savings for the county, other agencies, and just property owners and people that live in this community as a whole. With that said, this is pretty simple. I need to do a transfer. I decided to do my first time ever out of category transfer instead of an additional appropriation. This is a non-reverting fund, so those dollars are going to go back. This is my effort to show, due diligence and my stewardship of taxpayers' money to use what's already appropriated so I can have as much as possible go back to the reserves. One reason I'm here is because I mentioned it earlier, we had a part-time person and they had graduated. They indicated they wanted to go back to school for one more year to get their master's, but after this last year, they decided to take a career path, so that opened up their schedule. And personally, I thought the best investment for the dollars was to utilize as much as time as I could get from them, because they've been with the office for multiple years, and there's no cross training, and they're actually just really proficient and great at what they did. And they even helped cross train the other part-time person in there. So this is all going to go into that fund line. I will do an in-house transfer to offset to just the part-time line, but I just figured this would be cleaner and I could do that with the processes behind the scenes. This will get us through the remainder of the year, and that's basically it.
Thank you very much. Any questions or comments from Mr. Randolph? Yes, Councilor Wiltz.
First of all, this is great. Thank you. I have no problem at all with the actual agenda item. Since you brought up that clarification, I wanted to say first I appreciate that, because that's exactly what I was kind of in my mind. I'm like, I don't think they actually collect, anything. It's just you're getting things straight so that we don't lose money and perhaps, are more accurate about how we're collecting money.
Right, and maybe other things help other departments,
right,
but.
Right. To your, it wasn't really a request, but to your insinuation that we reconsider your salary, I wanted to ask, and it might be that I need information from staff, but the salary ordinance that I remember back when we set those salaries had a provision in it for the elected official to earn 100% of what everybody else, all the others were doing, if they were the licensed.
No, that's 1.5. That's actually something that's, I think, more like hamstrung the office, more or less. So if I was elected, it'd be 1.5. The salary. So this was a discussion that Mr. McKim had in 2023 when I came back to request it.
What does 1.5 mean?
The 1.5, so it would be the full salary plus half if I was licensed, which I am not. I'm not going to get my license. One caveat to that is, that bullet point that, this is like, increasing the standards and service of the office. If you had a licensed surveyor come in and they didn't produce what we do currently with a professional surveyor, would you want to pay him 1.5? I think the council has the discretionary measures to hold those offices accountable. And if a licensed surveyor came in and they had, in the statute, they can run their private firm out of the surveyor's office as the elected surveyor. And if it was the trend that you saw, I think, that would be your ability to adjust that accordingly when it's reflected of the duties and the service being provided. So that's the way I look at that argument. I understand the other side of that it's like, oh, hey, let's not get too crazy, then it's going to be 1.5. Personally, I think the private sector, if you did spend 40 hours as a licensed surveyor, kind of almost equals out to that. But again, you know, it's the purview of the council, and there's a number of different ways of looking at it, and I think it's more of holding the office accountable and to these standards. And I saw Michelle want to raise her hand, so I'll defer to her.
I just want to say, I believe there is a statute, and I would have to have Ms. Turner King confirm that. But if an elected official, if the surveyor is a licensed surveyor and they're elected into that position, they get the salary plus a half.
Half of the
So
salary?
whatever it is, yeah, so they get, so it's like, you know, how you get like time and a half, they get the salary and a half, you know, so they get more because they are licensed as a surveyor. So that was my understanding. So that's why we never went to that full amount, because if you did have a surveyor, then you would go to that full amount. I don't know what the basis of it, but I thought there was something with regards to a statute as how to pay for a surveyor if they were a licensed surveyor.
A statute, I'm sorry,
An
a
Indiana
state?
code.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah, and I'd be happy to bring that to you during the budget hearing, unless
Yeah.
you want to put Molly Turner King on the search. But Michelle is accurate. There is a statute where if you're a licensed surveyor and you're an elected surveyor, you get the 1.5.
Yes.
And also within that, you're permitted to run your private firm out of the surveyor's office, which is, I think, is just bizarre to me. But there are a lot of unlicensed surveyors that, you know, that earn more than what I would be requesting as equal pay. So my whole presentation was to show like the development and the heightened standards and making sure that we are being accountable by providing those standards moving forward. Any elected office holder could come in and change their office and their functions, and, you know, it's up to the council to, you know, determine does that change their pay. So I feel like it could work either way, and that's been kind of my hope, to kind of get other peoples to see it from both sides and both lenses, and know that, you know, this would then put the council in a role where they would be wanting to see these standards upheld, you know. But they would want that with any office, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's true. Thank you.
I hope that was clear. It gets kind of convoluted.
Councilor Iverson.
As President Crossley has mentioned, we're heading into the most joyous time of the year, which is budget season. So thank you for helping us budget accurately by doing a category transfer and not an additional appropriation. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely. I'm really keeping tight grasps on that corner fund. So
thank you.
Other questions or comments on this item? Seeing none, we'll move on to public comment. If there's public comment on this item, raise your hand via Teams, or you can come forward to the lectern here in the room. All right. And seeing none, may we please have a roll call vote?
Lost where I'm at. Hold on. There we go. Counselor Wiltz?
Yes.
Counselor Henry?
Yes.
Counselor Deckard?
Yes.
Counselor Crossley? Yes. Counselor Iverson?
Yes.
Counselor Fidel?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimous.
Thank you. Next up, also with the surveyor, is item G.
Council, I move to approve the surveyor's request to amend the job description title of field assistant to field technician, and simultaneously in Fund 1202-0000, Surveyor's Corner Perpetuation, amend the 2026 salary ordinance account line 17062 from field assistant to field technician.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. What would you like to add to this item?
I feel like the technician is more in line with the duties that they perform. I feel like the work that they're doing is very high level, and this just will go to kind of their career path as they move outside of a part-time into hopefully a full-time career. Unless sometime I find myself in the reverse where I'm bringing in like a retiree person as a part-time role, not looking for a full-time career, but this is a more line. They do GIS work. They also help maintain the database, but they're also on the field working with the licensed surveyor. Depending on how the day goes, the surveyor might have them use the JAVOD, which is collecting survey grade coordinates. I was going to, and this, I guess the public won't be able to see it, but that's it. It's just more in line with it. And we got a field picture of their last day in the office, email sent to us, because unfortunately we'll be losing the person that's going to serve in that role, but it's a butterfly on top of the JAVOD. And so it's one of our favorite field photos out there. The best part is if we get this done and amended before we have to go through that, I hate the word termination process, before we go through that final procedure and paperwork, they can say they served as the field technician versus the field assistant. They're not just handing them a hammer or this or that. So I've worked really hard to get away from the assistant naming convention within my department.
Very much for that. Any questions or comments from Mr. Randolph on this item? All right, seeing none, we will move to public comment. You can come forward to the microphone here in the room or raise your hand via Teams. And seeing none, may we please have a roll call vote?
Counselor Wiltz?
Yes.
Counselor Henry?
Yes.
Counselor Deckard?
Yes.
Counselor Crossley?
Yes.
Counselor Iverson?
Yes.
Counselor Feidel?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimous.
All right.
Thank you so much. I'm
Thank
going to
you.
go risk
Yeah.
it in the rain, and I hope everyone makes it home safe.
Yes, thank you. You too. All right. As a reminder for anybody watching publicly, we have already talked about item H. We moved that up earlier in the agenda. And items I and J and K are also tabled. And K is also tabled to our August 25th meeting. All right. So we are winding down here. And so we'll move on to item 9, which are discussions for the county council. And it is one that I know some of us have been talking about and learning about. And it is the convening of the MUST task force. So I am looking to Ms. Turner King, and of course the auditor could chime in as deemed necessary if you choose, or if you need to, but take it away. Okay.
So the MUST is a municipal unit strategy task force that was created by recent House enacted Bill 1210 to evaluate local income tax structures and future funding priorities among local governments. A representative, if the council chose to form MUST, there would be a representative from the city, the county, Steinsville, and Ellettsville. And in essence, if it is formed, they would negotiate and establish through unanimous support a local income tax distribution agreement as it pertains to county local income tax. That would be submitted to DLGF. And then there is some question on the binding effect of that agreement that we're still working through, but that is in essence what MUST is overall. It's confusing because it is not required, although its name is MUST. It's not a must. It provides communities with an opportunity to coordinate long-term financing planning across local governments, evaluate how future lit decisions affect every governmental unit, access taxpayer impacts, and identify opportunities for taxpayer relief while maintaining essential local services. It balances local autonomy. It is really being encouraged by Association of Indiana Municipalities. And then each entity who participates in MUST, if it's formed, also has the right to have a financial advisor present. And so I do believe like Financial Solutions Group has reached out to the county offering their services if MUST is formed. Is there any specific MUST questions that I might ask?
You know it, I already
Might
see
answer?
a hand raising and flying my way. Councilor Wiltz.
Thank you. Although I did not have an opportunity to read all the emails that popped through this afternoon before coming, I did see that Kim forwarded on your behalf a link to a webinar. So I was listening to this webinar as I was driving here, and they emphasized, now I didn't get through to the end, but they emphasized that it was non-binding. Okay. I thought maybe they reversed course by the end of the webinar and I haven't heard it, but it's a non-binding, it's an agreement, they emphasized that the process was actually the benefit in a lot of cases, and that it was an opportunity for us to, in preparation for the meeting, become aware of all of the essential services that are supported throughout our county by all the different municipalities and other organizations that rely on local income tax, because I'll be the first to admit I probably couldn't name all the services that are provided. So I think given that, and given what FSG has said, oh, and by the way, the question was about that, it being non-binding, and she answered it by nodding, so I just kept going. But given that Mr. Garrett has said that he highly recommended it, I think it's something that we should most certainly do in the spirit of communication and collaboration.
So I have a question about that. And so, it's recommended to go with a financial group to provide services. Is that an extra cost that we would take on?
FSG's proposal is an extra cost. I do think it's worth talking to them about it to see, instead of executing a whole new contract, if we can just amend our current contract, and to see if any of the services are already covered so we have the current contract. I am curious if any of the MUST task that they've proposed is included in what we're already paying for. So I do think it's a conversation with Charlie and Greg of FSG about the contract.
Okay. And the other question that I had, and I feel like I've asked this before, when Jamie Bolser had gave her presentation, and then I had listened to the first half of the AIM AIC conversation webinar that was that we got sent to us. If we had a taxing unit that does not opt in or does not want to participate, does this mean that anybody must no longer a thing because a taxing unit has decided not to be in the game with us?
I don't know that I have an exact answer to that question, but there is a similar question in a slide provided by that Ms. Shell recently shared with you. And the common question is, what if not everyone participates? What if we can't all agree on what to include in the report? And what if we don't think the structure currently in statute for 2029 works for all our units? And the response in that email is, or that slideshow is, lack of unanimous support can speak to issues that the plan structure doesn't address. If consensus is not reached, discuss why and highlight the areas where agreement has been reached. So I think you would still submit something to DLGF, and then you would just highlight what happened.
Ms. Gregory?
In addition to that, we know that there's still going to be a lot of legislative changes related to the new lit structure. So we have that to be continued as well.
Because it sounds like, I know Mr. Garritas said SB1, the sequel, is coming back, and word on the street is the elimination of property taxes altogether is something that could potentially come around next legislative session.
Yes, they did mention that. And additionally, there's just some funding gaps with regard to townships, et cetera. And I know there's conversations happening about combinations, but we don't have all the information yet, and we don't know the changes coming forward.
It's just interesting that we are thinking about doing this, and I understand that it's non-binding, and I'm curious about the whole idea of this MUST task force, but it's just interesting that it's like, it's not binding. We also need to convene our first meeting if this is what we want to do by October 1st. My understanding is that I think there's a date in December that a report needs to be filed with the state from our findings. And there could also be a potential of them changing the lit structure yet again. So then we could be coming back for a sequel that we all might not be looking forward to next year too.
Yes, it's pretty much guaranteed that that's going to happen. But on the positive side, this is getting the conversation going. It's allowing us to understand and look at how the different taxing rates are going to affect different units, what belongs where. I do think it is a good thing to get the conversation started and to see what it looks like at this point, given the current law.
Yeah, of course. And I'm very curious. Sorry, y'all. But this has been the must thing that's been all in my brain, because I know a similar fashion to our long-term finance committee meetings. The city council has their fiscal committee meetings, and about a few weeks ago, their financial services group gave a presentation, and I know a couple of us have had an opportunity to meet with some of the city council members, because their concern is that they want to have a fair share, because ultimately this gives the county council a lot of power in their hands, and we know that fire, EMS, definitely the library is affected by all of this. So it's, having the conversation is definitely something that I'm not shying away from, and I don't want to shy away from. I'm interested. It's just frustrating that there's this chance that all of this could be changed, and we're all trying to do this, and then the state could come around and go, but wait, there's more, and rechange or recalibrate everything that we are thinking that we're doing in good faith, So that's frustrating. I'm not frustrated with anybody in the city. And I know I've met with Councilmember Hopi Stossberg about this, and she had reiterated that in our conversation that, even though we're a county council, some of us also have city residents in this, and, she definitely made the case, so.
Yeah, I think I made all of you aware that there is a proprietary AIC, Association of Indiana Counties, model for this new lit structure that county auditors received. So I have been playing with that. I looked at it with FSG in a small group of your financial team, and I'm excited to show all of you, just so we can all understand together the way it works and play with it.
Thank you, I appreciate that. I see Councilmember Vital, and I think Decker had his hand up, so I'll go first.
So I'd be curious to know what other counties are doing, right? Do we know? Is there any way to figure out what other counties are doing in the MUST or with the MUST?
Sorry, I keep pulling the microphone back and forth. I have a county auditor email thread group, and so I can share a little bit of that with you. We're very early into this at this point, so only at last I looked at it a couple weeks ago now, only a few counties had already convened their MUST group or were beginning to set meetings. So we all know that we're all moving toward that, but it is just still very early on. I mean, initially the guidance was to hold off as long as possible. Let's wait for all the data so we can make informed decisions. Well, we still don't have that information. So we're all just going to kind of proceed with what we have, I think, at this
So
time.
is your sense that most counties, if not all, will participate in a must?
I think so. I think so. Yeah.
Decker?
Well, I want to say something because I think there are city folks that watch these conversations, particularly around this. And I think a lot of times government agencies, when they're working across jurisdiction, don't send reassuring signals. So I'd like to do that now. For our city colleagues, we all, I think, majority will work wholeheartedly with you, with the town, and then all those other units. And I want to make sure that as we do this, as we're moving forward, at least from my view, that we're thinking holistically, I hate that word, but we're thinking as big as possible about anything we might be screwing up or leaving out. I wouldn't want us to get into this process and then say, yeah, don't forget, there's this one particular thing that you don't normally deal with, but because you're in this one particular situation, you might have overlooked that. So I think we've got to think pretty comprehensive. Now let me talk to you, having offered reassurance, let me echo some frustrations and just get this out there. I don't think anyone knows what's happening. And I think that includes the people that make the laws. And I'm saying that as respectful as possible, but they're kind of saying it themselves, that something is changing. And I have to be honest with you, I'm tired of hearing movies and sports metaphors from Indianapolis over things that are affecting lives. We have police departments that are trying to figure things out, ambulances that we're hearing in this storm right now that are trying to figure out life, and yet we're going to create something that may be gone. And as someone pointed out to me this week several times, be careful, don't spend too much, because this may not be something that is existing in a year. And the state has done this numerous times. We're going to try this because we wrote this bill at 3 a.m. on sine die, and the speaker gavelled us closed, and then we discovered that we let 3 horses out. And now every county, we've renamed somehow Vanderburgh County, Posey County. I mean, look, they make mistakes. There's not always expertise in the late hours. So I'm concerned about Monroe County, which is my jurisdiction, spending a bunch of money for consultants to assist us with a hypothetical case study that the boys and girls of the General Assembly may not have yet decided they want to figure out from the last time they had a party, okay? And I say that with respect, but here's where government actually happens. You know, the courts are a really good example. We heard, well, you're losing a court. I don't know that they consulted anyone on that. You're losing a court, so that means you'll save money. The state always says that as they give you more unfunded mandates. But we know the action we took tonight is to help the court try to manage what it has to do, which are the people that live and work here and want to be safe. So I say all this because this is exceedingly impossible to keep doing. And yet again, here, what do we have? We've got city anxious about county. We need that about like a hole in the head. We've got town anxious, and they're, of course, off doing their own thing about reorganization. Why? Because yet again, we're competing. And we have folks like libraries and townships and other folks that are very anxious on what is now pause, what may end up being more pause, or a complete change, or a Musk task force, or some other complete name we've not thought about. And friends, we can't govern like this. We can't. You cannot go day to day. And unlike our federal friends, we can't operate on a continuing resolution that we only pay attention to when our name's on a ballot once every 6 years. And unlike our state friends, we can't change the rules all the time. So this would be a good time to either give us certainty or just be straight with people that services cost. I have heard from many taxpayers overwhelming concern about their property taxes. Overwhelming. That said, friends, and I pay them too. I pay them on 2 different properties. As someone has noted in the public, you can look it all up. Look Deckard and Trent, you'll find it. But when I look at our records on how values of homes have gone up in this area, I can see some of the problems that we've had. Dramatically between 2010 and now, it's like steroids on the value of a home. Well, naturally, when you have a property tax system, that's going to chase that. For my state friends, the frustration that you hear out there are people that need relief all in life. We don't need more unfunded mandates where we're chasing, choking, studying, and trying to figure it out. So I hope somebody out there that is running for state legislature or thinking about running or whatever, I hope that they hear this, because we can't live like this. And now we are yet again in a situation where we're gonna have to write some check out to an outside consultant to make sure that we keep the straight and narrow so we can fulfill the bureaucracy of the moment and the need. That's where things could be cut, if you're asking my druthers. I'm sorry to go on so long.
That's fine. I appreciate that. Thank you. Amen. Counselor Iverson, and then I'll go Henry.
I'm going to pull two things out of the AIC email that we all received today. Number one, I agree with Councilor Deckard. I want to give some assurances to the community. We do have, if we agree to do this, there is a deadline by which we must have a must meeting. And can you talk about that, and under what circumstances are we beholden to that deadline?
I believe the deadline is October 1st to form MUSC. And then, well, I'm trying to scroll through the statute and slides that I have. So each county may, prior to October 1st, convene a MUST with one representative from the council, the city, and town fiscal officers. The committee may not include representatives from fire and emergency protection. And then I believe there's a deadline in December for submission of
November.
the report to DLGF.
Oh, yeah. All right, so if we're moving forward, it's going to be sometime by October 1st.
Correct. And in the slides from Baker and Tilley provided by AIC, they list out several steps before convening the task force, which include understanding the legislative framework, identifying goals of each local unit, reviewing current lit distributions, gathering revenue projections, evaluating taxpayer impacts and opportunities for tax relief, identifying long-term service infrastructure and fiscal priorities across the county, assessing whether taxpayer liability aligns with the beneficiaries of local services, and understanding local service delivery responsibility. So, I think my recommendation to council at this point is, what information or what do you want to see to, and when, to even have do we form this conversation?
Yes, I think it was last week. All the days are running together, but we had a very preliminary discussion with FSG, Michelle, and a few others. During that meeting, we talked with FSG about if they were going to assist us with this process, if you choose to tap them, then what do they need from us further? And so we also went through a very preliminary ideas, just to kind of talk about what is needed and what we need to think about moving forward. So it was kind of a pre-meeting, if you will, but we're getting there. The process has begun, just to reassure you.
The second point that I want to make is that participation in this is the phrase they used, is permissive, not mandatory. That being said, I want to make sure that if we decide to go down this road, we are sending invitations to all taxing units. I think it is absolutely important that the public hears what's happening to the school districts. It's absolutely important to hear what's happening to the library system. Absolutely important what's hearing to the township trustees. We cannot focus on city and county. It's important, right? We could really do serious damage here. But we also need to hear from all these other taxing units about what's happening. It's so important that if we convene this, that it's a community gathering and it's not just one or two entities, in my humble opinion.
Councilor Henry.
Thank you, Madam President, and I appreciate everyone's comments. This is tricky to work through. I know it's also been a bit of a slow-moving train because we've known about this for a while. I reflect on two things about our approach to this, and it picks up on some of the threads here. It's no secret that but I think before, I was elected here, and I think several of us were elected here, that the frictions among the taxing units are not small in our community. And the older structure by which we divvied up our tax revenue through the certified shares program really created some tensions about who got what slice of the pie. Especially frictions between county and non-city county residents and city county residents. I think that's important to start to phrase. I think it's been phrased too long that it's county or city, and we do forget about, as you'd mentioned, those city residents that also are county residents. So in some ways, this committee could be an opportunity to reset that dialogue among the taxing units as we are on shifting sands. And I'm hopeful we have enough new players in county government and city government and other governments that we can stop thinking of this as sort of a zero-sum fight over tax revenue, and it is something that we have to contemplate, even though we have our own budgets to balance and the like. So, it shouldn't. I don't fear the must in that respect. The non-binding part's important to me too. I do agree with Councilor Iverson that maybe our version of this extends dialogue to partners that are not named as the quartet that should be in the room. So there's that piece. There's also two maybe policy pieces that cause me some heartburn about the recommendations that we've received from AIC and others about how we approach this. The first is an emphasis that says that all things being equal, fire and EMS tax should be considered urgently or at the front end of this discussion. And yet there's no call in the legislation to put the fire protection district at the table with us to talk about that, right? So
It says don't.
Yeah, right. So that's interesting, right? Like that's the most important part, but they're not welcome to sit in the quartet, right? That's kind of interesting. And so I would flag that as alongside libraries, alongside schools about how we have that dialogue. And maybe I'll wrap up with a question, because I think we've touched on it in different ways, but I don't know this, but have we had formal communication from our other taxing units to us about MUST? I don't know if we've said that in the public meeting, that has the city of Bloomington reached out, has Steinsville reached out, has Ellisville reached out formally, or even to our knowledge, to even show that they would join the four. Without them, there isn't really a committee, right? But do we have anything formal from Steinsville or Ellisville?
No, from Steinsville.
I know we've had email communication from Steinsville showing an interest from their council, but not necessarily their taxing or their fiscal authority that would sit there, right? I'd open it up. Have we had correspondence or anything?
We had it from Richie Carter, but I don't know if the clerk treasurer has said anything.
Okay.
I've not received any formal communication to my office.
I just want, and I think that's an important question to ask and interesting, but there was no expectation of any communication from them. It's up to us to convene. So I just don't want it to sound like, well, nobody's called me.
That wasn't my intention there. It was that if there's a urgency felt in the other taxing units that they really must get to the table and make their case, I was curious if we'd heard that.
The puns you could do with the must task force.
You must, I will.
If we must, we shall, and we try. Just do.
Okay, and informally, I know the mayor has reached out to have a conversation with me. So hopefully, I would assume it would be in support of trying to form this task force. Again, I know Councilor Iverson and myself had conversations with Councilmember Stossberg about this. And they also talked about it at their meeting last week. So that was, and again, their July fiscal committee meeting, they talk about this because like I said before, their financial services group is trying to, had mentioned, why this is a must for all. So I did it.
That reminds me of another point.
Yep.
And one that I think maybe Councilor Hawk would make if she were here, and I'm just going to try to channel that for a minute, to be mindful that while we're trying this or having this discussion in good faith and maybe possibly pulling everyone together, that there are taxing units that are proceeding with their budgets, and looking at their own current tax rates as they can start to consume part of our 2 point, correct me, it's 2.9, right? What's the total for the county?
That sounds, I don't have it in front of me,
Well,
so I'll grab
the
it.
big number, right? So if you're if you have taxing units starting to take little bites out of it here and there, by the time we get to the committee, we may find that some of that rate has already been obligated. Similarly to our predicament with financing capital projects or large bonds, right? That, you know, if we're committing the county to, you know, a third of all income tax, for example, for the potential justice center thing. It's something to point out. I mean, the bodies are still doing their work while we're thinking about the future as well.
Right.
Yeah.
So the other thing that I hear is maybe there is an interest. However, it sounds like there needs to be another conversation with FSG to come back to the table because they must have a proposal for us to talk about this task force.
Madam President, and I would maybe echo Councilor Decker's comment. I mean, I can't work must into it. We may not need that level of expertise. We have a lot of sharp people in our county. I appreciate that there may be other counties that must rely on such a thing, but if ours takes a different format, it may not require that level of effort, but of course it's good to hear what they have to offer.
Yeah, I would agree. I think, again, in what we have been talking about and what we will have come forth against us, or to us, I should say, for budget season, it just would seem, I don't know, I got a little heartburn with trying to put together something, because it's like, if this is a cost to us and this is something that we shall do, then this is a cost that we would bear and not other taxing units. Like, that's a legit concern. It's like, yeah, I'm curious about that.
And I will note that we do have a pre-must meeting scheduled with FSG already on August 26th at 2 p.m. And so I think we could talk to them more. They did send forth a proposal where it lists 6 items that they would be able to assist the county with. So I'm happy to distribute their proposal. And then if any council members have specific questions or concerns about what's contained in this proposal, we can easily discuss it with FSG on August 26th.
Just in the spirit of us not delaying and some thought about it, is it possible for you to tell us those 6 things and a rough dollar amount so we can get that in our head?
It's facilitate and moderate must task force meetings to support productive collaboration and timely negotiations, provide guidance and analysis on local income tax distribution strategies, including modeling potential fiscal impacts, assist in drafting and reviewing local income tax distribution agreements, support Monroe County with documentation and submission processes to DLGF, offer ongoing advisory services to help the county monitor, update, and implement income tax agreements, and assist with the development of the report to the state legislative. And then their fees would be based on an hourly rate. So for the CPA, MA, or MA principal, it's $300 to $400. For the financial analyst, it's $150 to $175, and for administration operations, $100 to $150. And then they have costs built in for mileage, copying, and mailing. Typically, with these agreements, we put a do not exceed amount. There is not a do not exceed amount currently included, but for example, with the county financial solutions group agreement that the county entered, it expires, when did we enter? The 20th of February of 2025. It has a do not exceed amount of, I think it's $28,000. So we could cap what we're willing to spend on this, but that was just their preliminary proposal. And I will say the preliminary proposal for the financial advising agreement also did not have a cap amount, but we added one.
So I'm thinking, all I heard was cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching.
Sorry.
Like, all of that was going off in my head.
I think there's some things in this proposal that between legal and the auditor's office, I don't know that we would need much support from financial or from FSG, particularly things like submission of documents to DLGF. DLGF has outlined pretty specific process to do so, and I think between our two offices, we can figure that out and not have to pay $400 an hour to do it, unless you want to pay me $400 an hour, but.
Nice try.
My question to that would be, we already have them helping us with the LTF. You know, LTF just Alakazam.
And this is why I said I think this is a conversation with FSG, because there is some overlap in this proposal specific to MUST and our current contract. And so, for example, like we already have them advising us on lit models. And so I'm not sure why that is not already covered in our current services. And so I think there is a conversation to be had with FSG saying, look, our current contract is still in effect. It says this, why is this different?
Yeah, and that's, that was my whole point, is we must turn this into.
And then, you know, we could easily amend our current contract to cover additional MUST services. Okay.
While recognizing what we're not having them do at the same time.
Correct.
Right?
Exactly. I do think the model is that everyone, each unit if we form MUST, each unit would have their own fiscal advisor there. So I do think they would attend the meetings.
So like the city folks would have like
Baker and Tilly, for example. We would have FSG. Each person would have a financial advisor in the room.
Gosh, it almost seems like it'd be easier to not do MUST and just have a may. We'll make up a different. We'll have a may instead of a must. We may have a meeting. I mean, to be honest, they've given us so many tools. There are definite things we'll need advice on, but like saying that they will help prepare agreements on local income tax. We don't need to make agreements because it's non-binding. You know, I don't even know.
Either pass it or you don't.
Right. And I will point out too that I think it was shared this afternoon. There is templates for these things in essence.
Exactly.
I mean, so it's not like you'd be creating an agreement from scratch.
Right. But I mean, we've benefited a lot from FSG. I definitely am not trying to say that they have not been valuable. I've appreciated their advice and the work that they've done. I'm just not entirely convinced that we need to, not just we, you know, if council is paying and the city's paying, and then, I mean, Ellettsville's paying, and then does Steinsville? I mean, my goodness, when does it stop? It's like a convention of advisors. I don't know. That seems silly.
Auditor?
Yes, so I'm looking at this from a little bit of a different perspective. I really like that FSG is bringing their expertise, including they are well informed of what other units are doing. They work with other units around the state, and that is very helpful. So they might bring some ideas from outside the box that we may not have thought of in our community, for example. So I like that. Additionally, it's almost like an added control to kind of ensure that we are in compliance with the statute as it's forever changing. I mean, we have our legal team who is excellent, but I think kind of like we're so locked in and looking at it so closely that allows us to maybe overlook things from time to time. Not that we do that often, but just to make sure we have the most recent version. We're following best practice with everything, and it is really big and new, and there's going to be a lot of changes year to year.
I just want to make one additional. I appreciate all of that and getting us to it. I just believe that the reality that the state envisions for financial budgets doesn't match what we currently do. It's, you know, there was a period about 2 to 3 weeks ago that I heard, so I'll say it. I think it's been in news stories, so someone can sue me if I'm wrong here, but that DLGF did not have any in-house attorneys whatsoever, and they went through a 2 to 3 week period or more where, due to something, they didn't have an attorney. And I thought about that for a second. We are one county of 92. we have attorneys. When we need additional attorneys, we have discussions about it. We have to go out and get additional attorneys. But a state agency of that magnitude operating like that, I think probably they need to take a page from a little bit of what we do, but also vice versa. If we're heading into a world where we cost and despair, which are truly out there, I hear it from people, if things are so bad, it may mean that we can't have things the way we have, that we cannot keep lights on to the level that we do in this building. We cannot have subcommittees for committees, and you certainly can't staff it. It may mean things like that. And I throw that to the friends at the state too, because that, it may mean that you can't have unfunded mandates, where you're trying to figure out something that is apparently going to switch in a year. And when we talk to our state associations, they say things like, now you want to hold off on that, and my heavens, be careful spending too much on any outside help. There's a lot of, I don't know. And when the rubber meets the road, we still have a justice building that's got all the things that it's got, and a jail that has definitely all the things it's got. And I feel like we lose our focus on this because we're chasing every single priority of Indiana's economic policy that switches every 2 years on how we do it. I'll be quiet. I'm not helping, and I know we've got other things that we need to get to.
So, in terms of the next steps of or basically putting the Avenger group together, I'm thinking of Spider-Man. So when we are putting this task force together, like, what would be our next steps? Because I think council president gets to, that's a lot of power that I don't want. But what's the next steps?
I think the next step that I would recommend is to have, I think everyone has still questions that might be unanswered about MUST. And so we have this opportunity to sit down with FSG on the 26th of this month. I can forward you FSG's proposal. And then I think the next step would be, if you have questions, send them back to me. We can talk to FSG, and then we'll have a secondary conversation. And it would probably be on, if our meeting isn't until the 26th, the first meeting of September. Have another MUST conversation, and if we're thinking that we want to convene MUST, I would recommend a resolution or some letter from council president that would go to other taxing units.
Okay. Because it looks like, I'm trying to check our
Unfortunately, and I almost want to reach out to FSG to see if we can move up this August 26th meeting slightly, because the council's next meeting is the 25th. So if we can move it to like the 20th or the 21st, that would be great, so that we could have it at this next council meeting in August.
Yeah, because then we are running into budget season.
Exactly.
Yes. And therefore, city is also doing their budget season too, and the time frame, October would be here before you know it.
I'm happy to email FSG to see if we can move it up just a few days.
Okay. So that maybe the next time we come back hopefully they can, because with our meeting being on August 25th, we could talk about it, have a plan, and go from there. Okay. And any other questions or comments on MUST? Well, thank you all very much for that conversation. I know everybody has all the thoughts about all the things there. So we were able to get it all out and go forth what you will or what you must. Okay?
Oh, there it is.
I know, sorry, I had to do it. Staying in my lane. All right, so next up, we are at item B, which is discussing on our lit special purpose. And so there's been conversation about that. So I'm still looking to Ms. Turner King to help with this conversation. It's something we've been talking about since last year in budget season. And as I keep reminding ourselves, it's almost that time.
So I'm happy to go through the procedure and potential timelines if you want first, and then I think the auditor has a more number revenue specific presentation.
Okay.
So I'm going to share my screen, maybe.
And I know Judge Harvey is here in the audience as well, so I want to acknowledge Judge Harvey as well. So I don't know if you feel compelled to, if you don't have to, not putting you on the spot, but if you need to, feel free to come join the conversation as well. Okay. 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 So maybe just stay there, and then, we'll invite you up to one of the tables. All right, thank you.
So I put together this tax implementation procedure PowerPoint, and so I'm going to go through it really quick. So the tax adoption timeline. If we adopt an ordinance that amends the tax before October 31st or August 31st, then the tax will go into effect October 1st. I think the timeline that we were aiming for is the September 1st, adopting an ordinance sometime after September 1st, but before October 31st, which would make the effective date January 1st of 2027. So procedurally, what has to happen before the council can approve an ordinance adjusting the tax rate is that the council has to publish a proposed ordinance with a specific rate at least 10 days prior to the public hearing. This publication has to occur in the newspaper. There is some statutes like the additional appropriations statute or the budget statutes that allows for online publication, but lit publication here for public hearings is not one that can be published just online. Historically, we have a first reading and a public hearing the same night. And what we've done, for example, with the correctional taxes, we'd had the first reading, we opened and closed the public hearing, and then we did not take a vote that night. We took the vote at the second reading. Nothing says you can't take a vote the first reading. It's just, I would like to acknowledge that if you take a vote at the first reading, it has to pass unanimously or there has to be a second reading. Once the ordinance is passed, the council would direct the auditor to provide notice to the local taxing units within 15 days. What we did in the past was email ourselves because we are the underlying taxing unit. And then the auditor submits documentation to the Department of Revenue and DLGF, and that usually includes a copy of the public notice, the ordinance, and then the fact that we notified ourselves that we did it. So some important things that I already just said this. Important things to keep in mind, we must give 10 days notice. The proposed ordinance must state the specific rate. So we did this with correctional tax. If you remember when we passed the correctional tax the first time, we implemented a rate of 0.175. And the statute required it to be to the nearest hundredth. So then we had to re-advertise it for 0.17, but because we amended it, that started the entire process all over. So any change to the ordinance puts us back to square one. So considerations for timelines, and these are the same considerations we thought of when we did the correctional tax, was do you want the public hearing to be in the evening? Should the adoption hearing occur during the evening? Do you want the public hearing to occur on a separate night from budget meetings and or regular council meetings? And do you want to hear the court's special purpose budget prior to the consideration of the rate? As a reminder, just because it was past precedent, we did not hear the tax rate on a budget meeting night. We reserved hearing the tax issue on a regular meeting night. And then we also held the public hearing during our regular meeting, so that would be in the evening and maybe more accessible. So based on these questions and past precedent, I put together two potential timelines. And they're all crazy. So the first timeline has the council identifying a potential rate in the August 25th meeting. That's just so we can prepare an ordinance and get it submitted to the HT. So if you identify a rate at August 25th hearing, we could potentially submit it the very next day to the HT. Now, I will caveat that submission timeline requires us to get everything to the HT by noon on Wednesday, which is a very tight schedule for the auditor's office to submit that. It's a pretty cumbersome portal, so I don't know if you want more time, but option one is we submit by noon on Wednesday, which would put publication on August 28th. Therefore, we could have the first reading, public hearing at the September 8th regular session of the council, with the second reading being at the 22nd September meeting. And then if you use this model or this option, if there's an amendment, it would still give us time so that even with an amendment, we could have a potential adoption hearing on October 6th. Now, I will caveat that October 6th is a budget night, but it's not a budget session. It's the budget public meeting or public hearing. So the first option has everything done potentially by October 6th. The second option basically starts out the same way. You identify a rate at the next meeting. It gives us a little bit extra time to advertise, but even by pushing the advertisement from Wednesday to Thursday, that pushes publication to a Monday. And so by publishing on August 31st, we wouldn't be able to have the first public reading at the September 8th meeting. We'd be hitting, because it's not 10 days. So we would be having our first public reading on the 22nd, and then our second possible adoption hearing on October 6th. Even with this model, if there's an amendment, then by October 13th, you would have possible adoption of a rate even with amendment. I did not put a calendar option here, but this is in my head, and it's option 3. In my head, this is really not the option that I would recommend because it puts us right up on the October 31st deadline. So if you wait completely after budget sessions and your goal is to have the public hearing on the tax rate is the same day as the public hearing for the budget hearing, you would identify a rate on September 22nd. It would be advertised on the 23rd, published on the 25th. Our first reading would be October 6th. Our second reading would be October 13th. If there is an amendment, and this is why I do not like this option, if there is an amendment, that means you would potentially be adopting the rate on October 27th, which is, in my opinion, really too close to that October 31st deadline. So that is the options and kind of timeline.
So I was gonna ask the auditor, your opinion for the date, if we went with option 1 and we did everything on the, we talked about a rate on the 25th, do you think that would give your office enough time to turn around and get it advertised to the HT?
If we have everything ready to go and we confirm with the HT that as long as, they receive by noon, it will be published timely. I'm fine with that. We can make that happen. It's just making sure we're prepared in advance, and all we're doing is simply, submitting first thing in the morning.
Is there anything our office can do to work in tandem with you to ensure that deadline gets met?
Absolutely. I mean, Michelle and I have been working, and Mr. Nicking have been working closely on this already, just because we are getting closer and closer to the timeline, so we've all been in communication. My preference is the earliest timeline possible, just to give as much buffer as humanly possible.
Yeah, I would agree, because October 31st, or the option 3 is way too close, because we have no idea what will happen with budget. And so, if we need more extra room for any other things, and then you all have to upload those items into Gateway. So that would be a concern with doing something late, because then that puts more pressure on you all.
The only caveat that I would mention with identifying a rate on August 25th is if you identify a rate at the next hearing, you haven't heard the YSB budget, which this primarily affects. You haven't heard a commissioner budget, because they also have a line in that special purpose tax. So I think my recommendation is if you're going to proceed with identifying a rate by August 25th, that it might be ideal or beneficial to have a conversation or a meeting with judges and YSB to make sure we know it's in their budget and that we're adopting a rate that would suffice and meet their budgetary needs.
I think that's doable, and I know Counselor Wiltz is the liaison for courts and whatnot, and so I think, and Counselor Fidel as well, and so we definitely want to, I know the judges have made it clear that they want to be a part of that conversation, since that ultimately deals with what it is that you do. So I don't want to discredit that. So I think that could be the option, but I'll look to other colleagues to see what their option would be. It sounds like option one would be good, and then maybe in the meantime, folks could, because we should already be having those conversations regarding budget anyway.
Right.
Some of you all have, and I know some people are scheduling those, so that seems like the better plan, but look into council to see what thoughts are. And I think I saw Counselor Wilt's hand up.
No, I was going to say that I know that the courts have already really worked through what they're planning to submit or have submitted, I guess, at this point. So I think we can reach out to the affected departments and just pull together something so we make an informed decision.
I was just going to add, I think it's important to say at this point that was the deal we made when this was done. And we all went, trust us on this. And they were very kind and cautious and trusting, I think. And they nodded along. And now we're 2 years later from this. The timeline kind of has jogged back some memories from all that, some good and not all good. But I think it's incredibly important to both honor with the action and honor with the do we have it right kind of question, because that really assisted us at a time that we dramatically needed assistance.
I just want to say that all the budgets are in and that we are proofing them and everything. So if you would like, we can print off what has been submitted at this point and share it with everyone. And then that way everybody knows what's being asked for at this moment.
That would be helpful, and I see that Judge Harvey has joined us, so if you would like to make some comments, and then I'll circle back to the auditor.
I don't mean to interrupt or hijack. Okay. I just do want to just comment on that last one. You have my commitment to meet whenever you need to meet to make sure that this schedule stays on target. Correct that we've already looked at budgets. I've looked at YSB in the part that's the court also. So that should be no problem. And I primarily just want to say thank you. I've just kind of been watching from a distance, kind of hoping and being able to tell YSB, because they're very concerned. And I know that Vicki came to budgets last year saying, I'm really concerned about this lit, and just to thank you for your work on this thus far and putting it on the agenda tonight, really to make sure that the timelines are hit. And that's really all. I want to make sure that was on the record, that I appreciate that. And that you have my commitment to do, make whatever information you need. We're here to meet with you. So that's all I
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Ms. Gregory.
If this is a good time, I can take you through. I actually have the normal lit sandbox analysis prepared, as well as just a kind of running total as where we are currently with the lit special purpose fund, if that would be helpful.
Yes.
I'm going to go ahead and try to share my screen here. Let me adjust this just 1 second. I don't know if you can see that well. I'm trying to make this larger and I don't see a way to do that. But this shows the cash balance as of yesterday, so that's under money in. Can you see that okay? Mm-hmm. Okay, so 2.9 million, okay, that's our current balance. We have remaining unexpended appropriations of about 1.8, so you can go over there and then see the running balance as we're just assuming we're going to expend that fully at this point. We still have an anticipated monthly lit revenue coming in, and that's September through the end of the year there identified. So that's added to the running balance as well. And then we're looking at, we just projected about a 5% increase in local income tax without adjusting the rate. I looked at, the state budget agency has released the total lit amount. We still don't have like the per unit that the DLGF provides, but we can, just looking at 26 to 27, it's about a 5.4% increase. So we're pretty much on target there. So that's fairly accurate. So, you know, assuming that amount, we will have about $3 million if the complete budget is expended. And then our assumption was a 5% budgetary increase, so about $4.7 million for the fund as a whole. However, looking at what is currently proposed, what has been entered in the current budget, the amount is almost $5.2 million. So we've gone above what we projected, that the ask is above. So I just want to make that clear. Okay, now I'm going to get into, I need to share my screen differently. 1 second. Okay, this is the recommendation received from FSG. They gave a little history on lit special purpose, just that it was reduced to, you know, have a zero impact on taxpayers, and we did that twice. Originally, I think it was 2023, then again in 2024. And so, again, as Councilor Deckard pointed out, this was, you know, a promise. We were going to kind of spend down the cash balance, which was extraordinarily high, to a more reasonable level, and we're there. We're definitely going to be in the red if we don't take some sort of action, either budget reduction or rate increase. So FSG's recommendation is to put this back at the original rate that we reduced from the first time. So they are recommending 0.0950 rate. And then I can take you to our lit sandbox here. Incorporated that rate into the proposed change. You see it highlighted in yellow there, which shows then the estimated total amount and then the estimated taxpayer impact. So you got this in email too, because this afternoon, which I know you haven't had time to digest, but it is in your email, so you can look at it later and you know, forward any questions you may have. I'm happy to field those. Okay. So, any questions now?
Anybody? Oh, Councilor Iverson?
So I don't think the FSG information is going to be surprising to a lot of people. We've talked about this in long-term finance at least 3 times. The analysis that you showed is a month old. We've been over this. We understand that the rate needs to go back to where it has. The updated lit sandbox is really helpful. So thank you for providing that, and particularly the columns on the right-hand side showing the impact to taxpayers. I think that's going to be on a lot of people's minds, so that'll be wonderful to look at. So,
yeah, the financial director in my office put this together. She's wonderful.
Oh.
Well, and getting back to the options that were proposed to us, it seems like maybe option 1 is where we talk about that on the 25th, and then auditors will, or auditor and her staff will get that going the next day.
As long as it's not an undue burden.
Yeah.
I will collaborate with our bench team here, and we'll have everything prepared and be ready to go if you approve.
Okay. So if there is no objections, I'd like to say that we stick with option 1 and go from there. Okay, so ordered. All right, thank you all very much for that discussion, and Judge Harvey for joining us as well. Next up, we are at the end of our agenda, so we have council liaison updates and comments. And this time I will start to my right with Council Member Henry.
Oh, okay. I was trying to count up how many times we said must, but not even.
Oh my gosh.
Not even ChatGPT. Not even ChatGPT could figure it out. It was probably dialects. I don't know. Just lost the transcript. I want to start on a heavier note and then hopefully a more joyful note. I would like to maybe address or raise to the public's awareness, but of course it's not a surprise to anybody working in the Justice Building that conditions continue to be poor there. Long after the headlines leave about the pipe burst and some of the challenges that we've had there, I've heard from a number of staff that conditions are still not cleanly. And it is my understanding that IOSHA today paid an unscheduled visit to the courthouse or the Justice Center today to follow up on complaints. Yeah, I just want the staff in that building to hear that we hear you on this council. In some ways, our hands are tied officially in the sense that we cannot throw money at the problem unless people bring us appropriations to fix the things wrong in that building. And however, we have the soft power and, of course, our voices to raise on this to say that if you have a direct responsibility over that facility and it is not still cleaned up as of nearly 2 weeks later, I hope you bring your body armor to budget season, because I have a lot of questions to ask as to why people in that building are still working in conditions that are unsanitary, if it is true that that's the case. This has to get addressed, and I do feel a little hand-tied here, but I will hope to get over to the building this week, and I certainly hope that things are cleaner than what I've been hearing about today. It's reported to me by staff today. This is not a great situation. We have to do better, and I'm sure if I'm getting frustrated, there's a reason for it. I know I'm not alone in that frustration. So I just want folks to hear me in that building today that have had challenges that someone in county government heard you today. Now the joyous note. I am excited to hear that the front door, which is our community's new LGBTQIA plus welcome center, if you will, just down the street from us, is to have their grand opening just around the time of Pride Fest in the coming weeks here. Of course, they'll have done that before the next time we meet. Many of you, of course, remember, and I'm sure the council remembers, that we were supporters of the front door through the 2025 Sophia Travis Grant Community Service Grant to help raise revenue to get that space open. Melanie Davis and others have been at this for a very long time to have that space. And I will say too, I think it's also joyful that it's in such close proximity to our ever-developing convention center, so that when people visit Monroe County and Bloomington, they know that our LGBTQIA plus members of the community are one of the tent stakes or one of the table stakes of our community. We're proud of being proud and as allies and in our community. So what a great weekend that's coming up in a few for our community as we welcome students back as well. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you very much. I've been busy, very busy, and it seems that every day there are new things that are coming to the county and certainly challenges. So I'll just tell you some of my activities. First, I did attend the IU Economic Development Summit, and it was awesome to be with various economic development officials talking about things going on in the community and around the state. It was a privilege to go visit with our fair board alongside Councilor Fidel. I'll let her have all that, but I got to peep over her shoulder and kind of watch their work and appreciated that. It was also an honor to go out and support the Lake Monroe Water Conservation Fund, also with Councilor Fidel. We're hitting the same places. And then ongoing work assisting on the leadership team of the Streets to Stability program. I wanted to remind folks that due to the legal posting requirement, we had discussed an appropriation that could potentially be at this meeting due to the legal requirement for an appropriation. We'll have that on our agenda next meeting, but that program is working in the community, and I'll leave that to Mary Morgan and her fine folks to discuss more. But again, on the county's part, being supportive and responding to that. I also want to mention something of a different nature, but I think vitally important. We've all, as members of council, alongside our commissioner colleagues and our city colleagues, heard from residents in the Osage neighborhood. And I've been through there several times myself. Obviously, there's been much discussion among different county office holders about the encampment that is near that neighborhood and the concerns that the residents have. I've driven through the neighborhood on average about at least 3 times a day since I began to hear about some of the issues that we're having. I wanted to talk about a little bit more towards action, a recommendation that I passed along to their commissioners, to our commissioners. And I was happy that that I've received some positive response, and I'll leave it to them to talk further about it. But I recommended to the commissioners that the county pursue services towards a security group to assist with the edge of that property, with our property that we have, and doing that in coordination and collaboration with the city, which is going through the neighborhood. This, to me, is a very common sense response to a property that we have, a property that's been cleared, but a property that I don't believe has been maintained after that clearing. And so as we keep working in all these different hats and functions and areas to treat people with dignity in our community, I think it's also important that we're responding to what we hear from folks in the community, and that also they feel like they're heard. And also that we don't let any view that we're just getting into jurisdictional disputes persist. The other thing I'll say is earlier tonight we were talking about an issue with our MUST task force and all that between the city and the county. I think an overwhelming thing that folks need to see here is that on a day-to-day basis, people all up and down the county and all up and down the city and all up and down the town and the townships do actually work quite well together. We do have friction moments for sure, but we can't let friction moments drown out the good that we can do and the good that we sometimes get done. And so I think this is an area where as we knuckle through on things that we're dealing with in the community, we have to just stay at it. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I just have one thing really to talk about. I was in our Community Corrections Advisory Board Justice Reinvestment Advisory Committee combo meeting last night. Phew. And it's a very interesting group of folks from all sorts of backgrounds and service areas. And one of the things that was brought to our attention was the Medicaid changes. And when Councilor Iverson brought this up earlier, I was reminded that I wanted to just let folks know, if they don't already, about the changes happening in Medicaid more broadly, especially with respect to the work requirements that are being put in place, and that this is going to be devastating, I think, for a lot of people who will have a very hard time getting a job of any sort. And one of the things that we were talking about and that Linda Grove Paul encouraged us to do is to think about, in all of our networks, the possible volunteer opportunities that could be grown, maybe more so than are already there, even to put those out there and let Centerstone know about them, because they are actively looking for a repository of opportunities for folks who might not be able to volunteer or work every other place, but there are some opportunities, I think, available for them to do work that could count toward keeping them in their benefits and able to receive the care that they need. So I just wanted to put that out there as you're going through your daily day kind of things. You know, what organizations maybe have some opportunities for creatively helping out in this way. And that's it.
Sure. Thank you. Councilor Vital.
Yes, I was at the Fair Association meeting with Councilor Deckard, and it was lovely to have another counselor there. I didn't tell him he was coming, so they were pleased to see him. And they have, you know, they probably have 30 people that are on their board out there. I'm always amazed how many there are, and they have a good turnout every time. And they'll be doing the third year of the Christmas light display this year again. They had a robust fair, which seemed to go okay, I think, but there's always evaluation and continuous improvement on any of that. So I do appreciate, I've been out there now for about a year and a half, and I do appreciate their meetings. I'm telling you, they start at 7 and they end at 8. They are in and out. And so they run a tight ship there, and people seem to have a really good experience in saying what they need or want to say at those meetings, which is really good. I did also meet with a couple of my liaison other assignments, human resources, as well as the BEDC executive meeting. I've been at a multitude of community events, including the Lake Monroe Water Fund with Councilor Deckard, as well as, he missed talking about the Taste of Bloomington. We were at Taste of Bloomington, and he's the only other one I saw there for that. And then, but I've been out and about, and I keep hearing numerous comments at almost all of those events or meetings about the subcommittee work that we did for the jail location. And I haven't run across anyone yet, and I talk to everybody that I'm around who says that they're unhappy with what we did. And so for me, that says something about how we went through the process with the committee and were able to come up with something that made sense for the factors that we had to deal with. And so I'm very pleased that we came to that recommendation and happy to talk about it to others in the community. I did receive, and I shared this with my fellow counselors who are sober on the Sophia Travis Grant Committee, I was at a personal lunch yesterday with a friend. I just want to talk about this because it just warmed my heart, and that is that we awarded money, and I don't think I need to say which one it was. It doesn't matter. We awarded money to an organization, and at the lunch I was at, a staff member that works there came to me and said, "Oh, I recognize you. You're on the Sophia Travis Grant Committee." And he says, "Well, you know, you gave us money to do this project work, and now we've got Lowe's involved, and they're going to be helping expand it." So it just felt really good that they were so appreciative and thankful that we did what we could do with the application that they sent in. So, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, that was very helpful, and when you have mentioned that to us, all I could think about, for some reason, because she's also been on my mind, like my mom. But Saturday was Cheryl's birthday, and so I've thought about her so much over the past several days. I don't know why, but I've just thought about it, and I think of things like that, and maybe that's why. You know, I've been thinking of her, and your story just kind of came up with that. So that's, you know, sometimes we always hear what we're doing wrong or what's going wrong, and sometimes it's just nice to come back full circle to hear, you know, something that's going right. Because we can get very cynical and stuck in our ways, but sometimes it's Sophia Travis Grant Committee projects and things like that, such as what you know, Councilor Henry was saying earlier about the front door, that we literally are doing some really good work, despite sometimes we are running into some head button issues and whatnot. But I am very grateful and thankful for my colleagues here.
Yeah, the only other thing that I would say is I do want to keep, because this is brought up a couple of times with members out in the public, I do want to keep that conversation. I don't want it to be remiss of what the committee did in terms of the work of the subcommittee. So I'm trying to think of ways for us to, bring that back to the forefront. Because, we came together, we did it, and then we haven't. And so I'll take that. That's been on me for not scheduling that, but I do want to make sure that we are bringing that back to the forefront of, so our community knows that we just didn't do all that work in vain. So thank you for that. And then also just shout out to all the people that helped with the Taste of Bloomington. It was rainy and then it stopped and it was fun, and it was just really nice to see people dancing in Bloomington, being weird as it normally is, and that's not a problem with that. I liked it. Students are coming back, and there's still construction all around this lovely town. So please be careful and be mindful of all the things that are happening. I just told my daughter to watch Cats, so I told her I would do this, and because it seems like Crossley kids' birthdays are sacrificed with county council meetings, so happy 12th birthday to my little ladybug, Kendall. So without that being said, we are so close to budget hearing, so do with that what you must, and we are adjourned. Thank you.